Guys, I'm Zavi Wildman. This is the Baby and Straight Check podcast. And I'm here with my good friend Alex from the ZTA podcast. I first met Alex, I think it was 2, 3 years ago at the Muay Thai gym in Chiang Rai. He was escaping the desolation of ghost town, post COVID Bangkok to get a little fresh air and came up to Chiang Rai. And so yeah, we kept in contact since, and he's a really interesting guy. He's got a bunch of really great stories, and we're definitely going to hear about a bunch of them today. Um, I can't get my background to work. Originally, what I had planned was a picture of Jean-Claude Van Damme from Kickboxer, because I know you're Belgian, right? So you're kind of
Exactly.
yeah, you're kind of like the modern day kickboxer. And then also, literally, that was my inspiration for coming to Thailand the first time. Was I literally, the only thing I knew about Thailand was from the movie Kickboxer, and I was like, that was the reason I wanted to come. and, so yeah. So Alex, I thought we'd start this out with a bang. Can you tell us the story about how you fought a murderer in a Thai prison?
That's a story I'm most famous for now because like people thought I was really crazy. So what happened was me and my wife we got married in November and my parents couldn't attend the wedding, so I went home for 6 months as soon as like everything opened up. And when we came back to Thailand, I arrived back at the gym and the first thing they asked is like, when are you fighting again? And I was like, dude, I just came back. Give me some time to get back in shape. And so I got a fight offer like 2 months in, and they wanted me to fight at the Rajadamnern, which is like, for people that don't know, it's like one of the biggest stadiums here. It has like a big reputation here. And so I got the fight, and they said next month after Raja fight, you will fight in prison. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I thought they were joking because you know how the Thais are. They like to joke about everything. They don't take anything serious.
Yeah,
And so
survive, right?
Sabai about everything, yeah. So I had to pull out of the Raj Damnaran fight because I got injured. And then they're like, okay, no problem. You can either fight 2 weeks before your prison fight or you just fight in prison. And I was like, I don't really care about this prison fight. And then 5 weeks before the prison fight, I got like a call and they were like, yeah, the interviewers are here for you. And I was like, which interviewers? Like, what are we doing? This is not the UFC. This is like a prison fight. And it was like, they told me it was the BBC back then, but apparently it's a production that works with Netflix. But you know, it's also Thailand, so
Wow. Okay.
they're kind of like BBC sounds international. We'll give them that. But so they're a big production, and it's gonna be a Netflix production apparently. And so I was like, wait, hold on a minute. If I fight in prison, that kind of gives me like an opportunity to promote myself out there.
Yeah.
And that's why I took the fight, because in the beginning I had like zero interest in it. But then
Can I just jump in?
yeah.
Is it a little bit weird for you going into the fight knowing that because you probably know us before you even take the fight that if your opponent wins, he gets his prison sentence reduced, right? So
Yeah,
like for me,
exactly.
it would be difficult to be like no mercy when I know like I might be like if I beat him, like I'd almost feel like part of me was conflicted, like and maybe that's probably why I wouldn't take the fight personally
Oh
because
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
want to win, and but
I
I
mean,
mean, did that go through your mind at all, or no? Like,
I mean, for me, like, I just see it as a sport. Like, I just thought as
yeah,
competing
okay,
with another guy. Like, obviously, I want to win, but also I knew, because there is two documentaries on YouTube about this, is that like if you don't knock him out or you don't dominate him, you're gonna lose the fight.
okay,
So they kind of, I would say they don't. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit corrupt. And they told me this before I walked out too. Like, if you don't knock him out or you don't dominate him, forget about it. You're losing. And
okay.
so from all the fights, there is only one foreigner that won.
Oh dang, okay.
All everybody else, including me, lost by decision. And I walked out and I was like, this is bullshit. But
uh,
looking, I mean, in the end, it's only a fight, and it's just a loss on your record. But Like it was a really crazy experience because before the fight, I met his mom and his grandmother. Obviously, I was the only one that asked him because like, so what happened was before we went to the prison, they told the promoter in the van with all the fighters was like, "Hey guys, everybody's fighting a drug dealer except Alex. He's fighting a murderer." And it was like this. There was like this awkward silence in the bus, and everybody just stares at me, and he's just pretending like he just said like, "Oh, I'm going to the barber," you know. I was like, okay, but so everybody was like very tense about it, and they a lot of people asked me like, you fought the murderer, right? And I was like, yeah. And eventually I just asked him because I was lucky that his English was very good. So it was basically he got into an altercation with a drunk guy, and he thought the drunk guy was armed, and he shot him. He was in the army, by the way. So that's what happened. So it's kind of like a self-defense. So it's not like cold-blooded murder.
No, but you see this in prisons a lot, where it's like they kind of fall in two categories. Most like criminals, most prisoners, and one is like you get a lot of just incredibly stupid people that end up there. But the other kind of category you see a lot too is like just someone just made a stupid mistake, right? Like almost something you could have seen yourself doing. Like they got too drunk or whatever, and they just wrong place, wrong time. They made the wrong choice, and it kind of sounds like he kind of falls in the second category, just like just that one moment where it counted. He made the wrong choice. Unfortunately, it affected the rest of his life. And
I mean, obviously, it's hard to judge because I only spent like 2 days. Like we were inside the prison quite a lot, and they were very free. They could like walk around. We could talk with them, and so obviously I talked to them, and like based on what I've seen, he was a nice guy. He just had when I fought with him and I hit him with an elbow, he kind of got hot tempered. So maybe he had like slight hot temper, but like not didn't seem like a bad guy. And it's like people think this is weird, but like the majority of guys that were in that prison, they were actually very nice. The majority of them were in there for drugs. Actually, it's like a lot of them were in there for yaba, which it's a huge problem here. But the majority of them, they were not even dealers.
They're businessmen. They're businessmen, all right?
Yeah, it's basically they were definitely, it's like, dude, there was a guy that had I think 15 years, and I think it was possession of yaba, and he got less than somebody that killed somebody. So I was like, his sentence was harsher than somebody that killed somebody.
Yeah, that's like doesn't seem very fair, but I mean.
But I think like I talked about with the documentary director afterwards, because they obviously have a lot more background info than us. And so basically, in Thailand, there are multiple ways to get out of prison with good behavior, and so Muay Thai is one of them. So actually, I think that's a good idea to reintegrate them back into society. But out of everybody that gets released, only 15% gets back into prison. So that's a very low percentage.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so they really get
why
like...
do you think that is? Because I don't know the statistics, but I'm sure it's much higher than the United States. But the United States also has the largest prison population.
Yeah, I mean, when I walked inside that prison, you have to realize that this is the prison where they go after they came from Bangkok. So Bangkok is like the worst. Like I don't think that's a holiday prison. But when I walked into that prison, I was like, shit, this looks better than my old college. Besides the wires, of course, and the security. But dude, this makes my college look like shit. And I was like, what? This looks nice, you know? Yeah. Obviously, you have security and wires, but I'm like, And if you compare it to an American college, then, well, there's probably less shooting, so it's safer over there.
Hey, man, hey.
But I was surprised how much freedom there. I mean, freedom, quote unquote, they had. And basically everything is geared towards them getting back into society.
Okay.
So it's like, it's very relaxed. Even the security guards, like they joke around with the security guards. Obviously there are rules, but it's more like they guide them more than they like guard them, if you understand what I mean.
Okay, but this is like the critical side of my mind is like, is that just the side that they're showing to the public? because they know that you guys are going to repeat what you see, like, you know what I mean? Because I've heard, I don't know firsthand, but I've heard horror stories about Thai prisons. And at one point, I thought I might end up in a Thai prison, and I couldn't sleep because I was like, oh my God, this is the worst case scenario. It's just like, oh no, I was praying. I'm like, please don't let me end up in a Thai prison. No. But yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you heard anything about that. Because I don't know. It's like, yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, a lot of people when I fought into prison, they compare it to like a Prayer Before Dawn, the movie, and I was like, you guys have to understand, I didn't get in trouble and get in prison. I went voluntarily into prison to fight.
Yeah.
I'm not a prisoner. But like if you're in the big prison in Bangkok, I'm pretty sure your life is basic shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because
like,
I mean, I heard like there's people starving to death, or like maybe not starving to death.
I mean, they take care of them, but obviously they don't get a lot of protein. It's mostly like rice, a little bit protein, and a lot of vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like the stuff you get at the hospital, like that watered down rice and
I mean, when we were in prison, they made brownies for us.
What?
Yeah, dude, we got like free brownies, free coffee. They were like,
what kind of resort are they running?
Yeah, they. I was like, there was like a market inside that prison, which they built for the event. It's pretty big. Like people could come in and watch. I don't know how you got selected because it was only like a select few that could come in. There was maybe like 150 people there. But there was like a camera crew there. There were commentators there. That was pretty big.
So I'm always curious, and I want to ask you as a fighter and stuff. What's your mental process before you go to a fight? Like do you have rituals? Like, is this something you do the night before? Like, are you allowed to share this, or is this secret?
No, I can share it. I mean,
okay.
And in the beginning, I kind of had rituals because I call it like the superstitious phase of a fighter, because obviously fighting is very dangerous. But after a while, I was like, all of this stuff is bullshit. Like if I train hard and I have good trainers, I should be able to beat my opponent. If they match me up with somebody, they think I can beat him, and obviously they think the same for my opponent. But it should be a good match. And so I don't have a process anymore, to be honest. I just fight week. I just do whatever I want. I just chill, make sure my body is like relaxed so that I recover from all the hard training. That's basically it. Yeah. And then before the fight, I'm actually very calm. I mean, I've been in Thailand for a long time, so obviously I went through all the shenanigans, like opponent changes, last minute fight changes. Like at this point, I've seen everything. Like my last fight, they changed my opponent and my date 3 times.
Dang.
And then
was that the craziest thing that you've had to deal with?
I think the craziest thing I had to deal with was my first fight, because I got a fight offer. They changed it like pretty last minute. And then we went to Samui and they were wrapping my hands. First fight, by the way. And I look inside the stadium and I'm like, I don't see my opponent. And I knew from other people that sometimes they just put a random tie on the poster that you're not fighting. But I was like, nobody in this room, because you're always in the same room as your opponent, is my size. And then suddenly there's like a guy walking in, but he's like huge. He was fat, but he was huge. And I was like, okay, that's not my opponent. But then I look at him and I was like, and I look at the poster while they were wrapping my hands. I was like, oh motherfucker, this motherfucker got big. This guy was doing like all you can eat or something. And I was like, they didn't even check weight for that fight. So there were no weight checks, no doctor's checks. I had like a bump on my elbow with fluid. And
I'm gonna just man, because you're talking about eating at the buffet. I just went with someone to the sukiyaki buffet last night for the first time, and I didn't know that if you order too much food, you have to pay like a penalty fee.
Yeah.
So it turned it from a really enjoyable experience to like a really painful one, and I just imagine this guy at the sukiyaki just being like, "I'm a friend of the buffet," but okay, but this is a Thai guy though, right?
Yeah, this was a Thai guy. Okay. And so I was 68 kilos. So this was my walk around weight, and this was the agreed fight weight. He must have been like 80 kilos.
Dang. Okay.
And so they're wrapping my hands. And I'm like, well, they're wrapping my hands anyway, so now I'm gonna fight. But that was a hard fight because of like I
Yeah.
couldn't I mean I hurt him a couple of times, but it was hard to like knock him out because he was so big. Like he could handle my power. And after that fight, I couldn't walk for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just kicked my legs so much. Like in the fight, I was able to bear the pain, but as soon as I was out, I had like ice bags on my legs.
This so I don't know if I had one Muay Thai fight and I yeah, it was like during the fight, nothing hurt because I had so much adrenaline going. But I probably checked shin on shin, each
Right.
leg at least a dozen times. And it's what you're saying. Like an hour later, all of a sudden the adrenaline starts to run up, and dude, just the bone was just aching, and it was like a good 2 days. I was just like, oh damn, oh that really aches. Like yeah.
But it's like the longer you're in the sport, the less. I mean, you still feel pain, but it's like a different experience. Like in
Well,
my
the
third,
bone gets denser too, so
I
I
mean,
mean
the
that
bone
helps a
gets
lot.
denser, but you
Yeah.
also get like used to pain. Like when I had my third fight, I had like severe shin splints, and
Mhm.
so the spot of the shin splints got hit during the fight in round two, and so my leg blew up. It was like full of fluid.
Oh damn.
I had like a big leg, and
Uh,
so I fought 5 rounds with it. And I remember the next day, when I tried to get up, my leg would cramp so bad that I had to like lay down for
yeah.
like 10 minutes to like, and then slowly get up, and that was
Yeah.
pretty painful. But then a year later, I fought in a show in Hua Hin, and I remember before I walked out, I was like, the worst thing I ever got was like my leg that got blown up. This will never happen in this fight. Guess what
Uh,
happened in that fight?
yeah, you jinx yourself,
The
really.
same thing happened. And I remember looking at my leg in the third round, by the way, same round. And I was like, ah, that was, and like when I walked out of that ring, my my uh, my bottom leg was as big as my upper leg, which was like crazy. And
Yeah.
so the next day I got up and I felt like my leg was gonna cramp as well, but it didn't bother me as much.
Yeah. You had to, it's called a thankle. So when your thigh goes into your ankle, right? A
Something like
thankle.
that,
Yeah.
like fat man ankle.
Yeah. Oh man. So I mean, if you had to describe your fighting style, how would you describe it? Like, are you a
Uh,
pressure fighter or counter fighter, or
kind
just
of like
something
uh,
between? Like,
kind of like a counter fighter, like very
uh,
elusive.
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm kind of like the opposite of what. I mean, I like to entertain, but like I'm kind of like the opposite of what people want, I guess. It's not
Okay.
boring, but I go on the back foot a lot because like these days,
Okay.
a lot of guys like to come forward, so I just let you come.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm not like it. Have you seen some MMA fighters like I want to say like Conor McGregor or like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, where they have more of that point fighting style? Do you think that could be successful in Muay Thai at all? Like, forget about judging, forget like
Right, right,
no
right.
judging aside, right? Like,
I mean, the scoring system in Thailand is very different. Like, you can pick your opponent apart, obviously with the right scoring, with like the right weapons, but it's difficult
mm,
because like you have to do damage in order to score.
yeah.
So like with what Wonder Boy is like a cumulative damage. He could, but
No. But he has at least in MMA, he has like a lot of head kick knockouts. Um,
right, right, right.
yeah.
I mean, he should if he wants to fight Muay Thai, obviously he has to change his style. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad fighter. I love
Oh,
watching Wonder
okay.
Boy.
Yeah. Wait, no, go ahead. You're gonna say about Wonder Boy or?
No, I like watching Wonder Boy. Like every time he fights, I watch. It's an interesting
Yeah.
style.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's what I call like a low percentage fighting style, which is like I'll give the example. I think it was like about 2 years ago. So Mike Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr. in a boxing exhibition match, but they're both old men now, right? Like they're both in their
Yeah.
50s, so they're not like the physical talent's not there anymore. So what I thought was so incredibly interesting about that is it is really a test of which one's style was most effective. If you take away the physical talent, which style can still win? And it was pretty clear that Mike Tyson's peekaboo style is still extremely effective. If you slow him down, if you take away some of his powers, the reflexes, it still worked really well. Whereas Roy Jones Jr. was all like distance, speed, like being faster than the other person. And he was trying to do the same stuff he was doing before with like his hands down and all that. And it was pretty clear Mike Tyson could have knocked him out if he wanted to, right? He just kind of took his foot off the gas a bunch of times, but so I think of that as like a Wonderboy Thompson with it's like I don't think his style works for most people, but for him it works really damn well and it's awesome to watch. Yeah, and that's I can think of several fighters that are like that. And then it works better too because since it's such an unusual style, people aren't really they're not trained for that a lot of the times, right? Like I don't know, like yeah, going back to Conor McGregor, I just think like he's just had an unusual style that he's kind of lost. Since he fought Floyd Mayweather, I'd argue he kind of took on a more traditional boxing style. Whereas before he was doing like all that movement training with Ido Portal and like dude, he was just like really good at like distance management. That's what he did the best was that distance management, like getting into range, getting out of range. And then, because everyone talks about his like knockout power, his accuracy, all that, I make the argument that all comes from him being able to get into the right position. Like if you can always have your opponent right in your firing range, but you're not in their firing range, yeah, you're going to be pretty accurate. You're probably going to knock him out, right? Like so, thoughts?
I think like a lot of McGregor's. I mean, obviously he was a good fighter, but I think a lot of his wins came by like him. His aura, like
Yes.
him kind of like people like not being able to.
He got in their heads. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the pressure comes with it because like there's a whole arena like rooting for McGregor and not for you. So I think that got in a lot of people's heads, and I think like everybody talks about like the Mayweather fight as like a pivotal point, but I don't agree with that. I think the pivotal point for everybody was like the first Diaz fight.
Yeah.
Because there they were like, oh, hold on a minute, he gasses out after 2 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that the second Diaz fight, I thought it was a great fight, but to me it was really a draw. Like I really just couldn't figure out who had won that fight. Yeah.
It was close. Yeah, I should rewatch it. It was pretty close, and he got tired as well. So
yeah.
So
yeah.
Once somebody has like this unbeatable aura and like suddenly they seem like beatable, like everybody's gonna go for you because now it's out there.
Yeah. No, I just think there's certain fighters that they're able to work voodoo. Like John Jones is another one. I don't know how he does it, but he works this voodoo because I don't think I've ever seen a fighter fight John Jones at 100% of their potential. They always come up like they show up and just don't compete to the like you've seen them fight other people other days. They'll find the best ability, and then so I don't know if he like is actually just like back at home with a voodoo doll just messing with them or what. But it is incredibly interesting, and especially someone like John Jones is just like dude, his personal life is a wreck. Like you know what I mean? Like there's always balance in life. Like he's arguably the greatest fighter of all time. Never actually been beaten in the ring. It just somehow it seems to always pull together when he's fighting. But then like outside his life, I mean, he just cannot keep it together at all. That's like a lot of fighters though, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of them are very wild. There's a lot of wild personalities in the scene.
Yeah. Alex and I just took a break. We had to. There was some stuff that needed to be checked on. I don't know what it was. We took a break because I need to drink coffee. And I was just talking with Alex. We were just talking about how fighters they tend to be, that there's a crazy side to them. There's something that led them to fighting. Fighting is not something that normal people do. It's a very small segment of society that gets into the martial arts, that gets into fighting, competing, and it doesn't happen by accident. That there has to be a reason, and I mean, I consider myself a lifelong martial artist and fighter, and I know for me, for example, it's therapy. It literally just it allows me to be a human being and walk around the city day to day and just like get along with people because I just need that outlet. So Alex, I was just curious about your personal life. once again, I know you had like a very interesting life, and I was just wondering, what is your story? Like, what led you to, and like, where your life adversities, and how did that lead you to becoming a fighter? And anyway, can you just talk about that?
Yeah. So basically, actually, I always wanted to fight as a kid. Funny enough, like I was always attracted to like combat sports for some reason. I don't know why. I was always like, I want to do this. But my parents were always like, no, you're gonna do everything except these sports.
But your parents, like what type of background are they, just generally speaking?
I mean, like just normal middle class,
Uh,
hardworking. Like
okay.
they're like the type of like go to school, get a degree,
Right.
work to like a
Okay.
soulless corporation,
Yeah.
suffer for like 40 years and then enjoy life,
And then
something like
die.
that. So basically, I mean, it probably started earlier than when I was like 21, but like, so basically when I was like around 19, 18, 19, I mean, I was not the happiest teenager. Like I had a lot of stuff that I didn't know how to deal with. So I was never the happiest. But then I had like, sport was like my outlet. But then I had like a bad
What
knee.
sports were you into
I
when
mean,
you were?
I did a lot. I did karate for a long time, but I stopped because like my parents didn't want me to compete. So I was like, yeah,
Okay.
why am I training if I'm never competing? Like this doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. I played football. I played indoor soccer. I skateboarded. I then eventually went into fitness. Like I did like a bunch of things. I always like to be active. But so basically, when I played football or like soccer, like you Americans like to say, I injured my knee and had like severe knee. Well, severe. I was basically looking back on it. I was basically severe inflammation of my patella tendon, and then it like went to my other leg, and it was pretty bad. And so I had it for 2 years, and like not a single specialist could figure out what it was. And for me, that was a hard period because I couldn't do anything pain free. Like walking hurt, walking stairs hurt, riding a bicycle hurt, like everything hurt. So I was like, I'm so young. Like if this is the rest of my life, like I might as well just jump off a bridge. That was literally my thought process because I hated it. It was like it was not fun. And so then I met my first long time girlfriend, so I kind of forgot about it, like eased the pain a little bit. And then eventually I got lucky. I went to like an osteopath, like all this like alternative medicine, and he was basically like, "Oh, you have inflammation of your because of your gut. Like my gut was a wreck.
Okay.
You need to change your diet." Okay.
Can I just jump in with this? Because,
Yeah,
having an unhealthy gut is also associated with clinical depression, because that's
exactly.
actually where your serotonin gets built. It's were you experiencing depression perhaps because of that as well? Or-
Nah,
no, okay. I
I
had to ask.
no. I understand why. I doubt it, to be honest. I've seen people that eat like shit and are like the happiest people on the planet.
Mhm.
So I think for me personally, it was more like my lifestyle that was depressing.
Yeah.
And then so eventually, like we have to fast forward a little bit. Like when I was 21, I broke up with that long-term girlfriend, and that's when shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
Because like I basically ignored reality as it was, and so suddenly reality came at me. Because like
Okay.
I hated my life, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally hated my life. But like the fact that I had a girlfriend, which the last year wasn't even the best part of the relationship. Like we were actually together for too long in hindsight, but
Mhm.
it was just depressing. And then
Yeah.
because we broke up, obviously you're young and like then you get try to get back together, and it was a whole mess. And like I basically managed to fuck up my life even worse in like 6 months after that breakup. I had like tons of finals I had to redo, and I basically I burned out that summer because I never had a break. Like there was
Yeah.
always like shit going on in my life that I didn't deal with properly, so I just kept coming back. I was mentally burning out, and so I had the year after. So I had summer break, which was like 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks after like studying for like months, which wasn't enough, and I had to do like an internship. And back then I was studying to be like a social worker, so I was
Mhm.
working with like kids that abuse like drugs, had like
Mhm.
behavior problems. So you can guess if you're mentally not in the best spot, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember doing that internship for 6 weeks, and I was like, oh fuck, I need a break. Like that's I remember telling that, but I had finals coming up.
Yeah.
So I failed like all those finals, completely burned out. I kept going for the next semester because I had another semester, failed horribly as well, and I was like, oh fuck, like I don't know what to do with my life anymore, you know, because
Yeah.
everything was going to shit. Like people were telling me, oh, you're a loser, you have no future.
Yeah.
I was like, "Ah, I might as well end it, you know, because like my head was going crazy as well. Like I lost control of everything, and so I basically thought about like ending my life. Like I was like, if I end it, like this shit is just solved once and for all. And I got actually very lucky because close. I was like getting more and more in my head, like just finish it, you know. And I visited my grandfather, and I don't know why he said it. There was no reason to it, but he said like, your face looks like your father, but the blood in your veins is like from our part of our family, and we never give up. And so that kind of like struck my ego. I was like, oh fuck, if I kill myself, like people are gonna, they're still gonna call me loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what
Yeah.
they're gonna say, and
Yeah.
I couldn't live with that idea, and I was like, oh fuck this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't get solved overnight, but again, like a weird twist of fate, I got lucky. I basically I had a huge burnout, like meaning like I was so burned out, my blood pressure was so high, I had to go to a doctor, and I had to take pills to control my blood pressure and my heart rate, and that led me to there was always like this one party in summer where me and my friends went. And so I went to the party as well, but because I was on pills for my heart and my blood pressure, I couldn't drink alcohol. And that was a blessing in disguise because before I would use alcohol like to numb my thoughts, which was a horrible idea because it would just get worse and worse. And so I had to drink more and more, which I almost drank myself into a coma twice. But yeah, oh man, I made a lot of dumb decisions back then, just because I couldn't. I just tried to ignore reality, and then because I couldn't drink, that party was kind of boring. I was like, oh, so I went home earlier, and I just cried my house out, and I was like, ah, my life is shit.
Yeah.
And then the next morning I woke up and I went for a walk, and the same thing happened. I was like, I just cried. I was like, fuck, I'm depressed because my life sucks. And that's kind of where I made the click. Is like, if I want to change this, now is the best time because nobody had expectations of my life. Like everybody thought I was gonna end up in a gutter or something. And so I went on Google and I was like, what causes depression? And there was like an advertisement back then, and it was like basically, oh, do you have low testosterone? And I was like, oh, what the hell is this? And that's basically how everything started. Like I went to the doctor, checked my testosterone levels. They were like chronically low. So I was like, okay, I'm
Oh.
gonna try to boost my testosterone. And that kind of
And do
gave
you remember
me
like what was it like? What? How many hundred?
270, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's very low.
No.
Luckily,
No.
that
No.
helped.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
No. Because like I won't get into it because this is about you, but I've actually recently got tested and like yeah. I was like medically qualified also for treatment.
yeah,
Yeah. So I actually understand exactly. Go ahead though. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that affects your mood, your joints, your like I'm just
exactly.
fucking everything. Like,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
So that must have been 2016. So 2015, 2016. And so basically that gave me kind of like a purpose because before I was exercising and stuff, but
Yeah.
I just had a good looking body, but mentally I was like crap.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so uh, which is weird because you'd figure that if you exercise that your hormones are healthy, but they weren't. And so
Yeah.
what I basically focused on was like I didn't know what I was doing. I just copied other people. Like back then, what's his name now? Now his name is King Keto on YouTube and Instagram. But back then it was like Big Brandon Carter. And so basically I copied a lot of his stuff, like not knowing what I was doing. But so basically I got into a morning routine. I started reading every day. I just started creating habits that like were beneficial. Started taking cold showers, funny enough. I just
Nice.
tried to, yeah, thought I was gonna be a millionaire by taking cold showers back then. But so basically, in a in a year, I boosted my testosterone that high that like nobody in Belgium could like measure them. I basically went over the upper limit,
Wait,
and then I
wait,
was
wait,
like,
wait, wait, wait. Slow down, slow down. Wait, so as much as you're willing to share it, what did you do to boost it naturally?
I mean, honestly, it's not that hard. Like,
Huh?
bec- okay, I have to say this before I share the so-called secrets.
Okay.
In 2016, back then the testosterone movement came up really fast. I got really popular. I was like one of the first ones that got into it. But they went full retard by the time I got out. Like they
Hey,
went.
if there's one thing we learned from the movie Tropic Thunder is you never go full retard.
But like this is the issue, is like the people that were in the scene back then, the ones that were like the pioneers, like there's only one left and he's still doing it, but he's not doing it that much anymore. So obviously other people took over and got more popular, and like they're very superstitious right now with the testosterone boosting. So they think they're like Genghis Khan because they have high testosterone levels, but they're basically pussies. Anyway, but like, so if you wanna develop as a man, obviously testosterone is a part of it, but it basically indicates that you're healthy as a man. That's all it is.
Right.
So if you wanna boost your testosterone, I mean, depends what you do, of course. But like back then, I was lifting 3 times a week. The off days I was walking, and I had one day where I was doing sprints. And sprints was basically I went to a soccer field, took the long side, sprinted the long side, took a 5-minute break, and did that like 5 times.
Okay.
That was like my sprinting routine. And then the lifting routine was like upper body, lower body, full body. I was nothing spectacular. And then on the off days, I walked like an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then eating wise, I mean, back then my diet was different. I would eat like 20% protein, 40% fat, and 40% carbs, which is it's not optimal, but my testosterone boosted anyways. But if you want to boost your testosterone, 25% protein, 15% fat, and 60% carbs is better. So, and then aside from that, I just started cleaning up my life, and I think that helped a lot. Like, it's like everybody is always like, oh, stress is a silent killer, and I don't agree with that. It's like it can be a silent killer, but actually it's like not knowing how to deal with stress is the silent killer.
Well, it can either kill you, or it could be the one thing that causes you to make a life change. And actually, I mean, you can use this motivation. Dude, I'm personally in the camp of if like you feel like you're getting overwhelmed, like please freak out, because because for me it's like I don't know, like when I was working as a computer programmer, I might have a big project. I had no fucking clue how I was going to do it. I had a week left to do it. I was like, no, I completely panicked like 7 days before, and then then I'm like losing sleep trying, and then eventually I'd end up like getting the project done 2 days early. So I'm like, okay, like panic 7 days before. Don't panic the night before. So I don't know, that's how I feel about stress and but so let me, if you don't mind me jumping in, like if there were young men out there that are going through what you went through, what advice would you have for them? Like if they just broke up with their first girlfriend, if they don't know what their life's purpose is, they feel like losers. Like what advice could you give to them?
For the life purpose one, I would say, and I ask this question to everybody because that's basically, it's from Alan Watts, but I changed it a little bit. But like basically, imagine you're like a billionaire. Imagine you have money to blow. What would you do with your life? Because if money didn't matter, the only thing that you're gonna do is what you love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so most people can answer that question pretty quickly, but then they obviously go like, oh, you don't make money. Like back when I was living down south in Thailand, so basically I was running my blog. I was training and preparing for my first fight, I think, if I recall good timing.
You said Koh Samui?
Koh Phangan. It's like the island next to it. So I was living down south. So basically, there was a girl, and she was like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
And so I basically asked her that question, and she was like, oh, I would open a flower shop. And I was like, why don't you open a flower shop? Like, if that's what you want, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I don't have the money. It's like, well, work for the money and do what you want. Like, don't stay stuck in like this soulless corporation that doesn't give a shit about you. And then so basically, she got curious and she asked me, what would you do? And I was like, I would do this. Like, I would live exactly this life. I'm already living it. Yeah. And I didn't have money to blow, but I already knew what I wanted. And so basically, for young men, you just have to go out there and try things. Like, if you cannot answer the question what you want to do, then I would just tell you try things. There's nothing wrong. I mean, you have to add information to this, but there's nothing wrong with trying something and being like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is never gonna help me. That's why I dropped out of college. I was like, this is never gonna help benefit me in any way, shape, or form. And like, people still come to me and like, do you regret that college dropout? And it's like, it's 9 years ago. If I would have regretted it, I would have done something about it.
No, no, and you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. You know, it's just like yeah, your life is the sum of all the good and the bad. You know, just like you're just not the same person. Even if you take away that bad stuff that you don't want to go through, you just don't end up the same person. You probably don't end
Exactly.
up as good. You know, just or maybe you do. It just depends on how you reacted to it. But um, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Right. And
But yeah, what you said is exactly true. Like, your life is basically an accumulation of the good and the bad. And the bad can shape, like, the good and the bad can shape you good or bad. Like,
yeah,
you have people that have something good happening in their life. They go crazy. They do some coke and some alcohol, and then they die in a car accident. It's like, whatever is good or bad. I mean, you define it,
yeah.
right? I mean, obviously there are exceptions, but like, I don't want to sound
Well,
I don't want to sound overly positive, but like, in hindsight, that depression and that those suicidal tendencies was the best thing that ever happened to me, because that was
yeah,
like a wake up call. You're like, hey, dude, you're like 21. What the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, that was like
yeah.
an amazing time for me, because then I was like, I started figuring things out. Yeah, like, a year later, I started MMA. Like, everything just started clicking. And then obviously I had to figure things out, but like, I was like, I know what I don't want, so now I have to define what I want, because the majority of people, they can tell you what they don't want, but they cannot tell you what they want, so they keep doing what they don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've been researching a lot of this lately. Just listen, I've been guilty of being kind of negative lately. And I just I kind of same thing as you're talking about. It's like when I recognize I'm like, okay, I'm in a bad headspace. I just start thinking like, what can I do? You know, and one of the things I try to do is just read books. You know, just and then, yeah, it's weird. I was talking to this guy that I just met at work 2 weeks ago. It was like literally my second day at the job. And for no reason, he just starts going on this whole speech about um, basically how like your thoughts create reality and what you say is gonna create that reality in your head that creates outside you. And so you have to be careful of what you're saying to yourself. And if
Mm.
you repeat something enough out loud, that's what's gonna come true. And I was just like, it wasn't so much what he said, but just the timing and randomness that kind of was. I'm like, oh, okay, like it's a reminder, just so I started getting really careful with just like what I was saying and stuff, and just I started trying to repeat, the like yeah, the stuff I want to attract into my life, and and I know there's like a lot of people who are like really believe in it, and there's a lot of people who are just think it's just dumb, and I don't know, for me, I'm just like, well, what's the negative to doing it? I don't see any negative to thinking positively, right? Or just like focusing on what you want to attract into your life,
Right, right.
uh, and but yeah, yeah, just anyway, I lost my train of thought, but go ahead.
But so basically, yeah, they call this like the law of attraction, but like, if you're in the wrong
Yeah,
environment, the law of attraction is never gonna work. You have to be in the right
uh,
environment with the right intentions to
yeah.
obviously, but like,
Surrounded by the right people, right?
surrounded by the right people, right? But like, I mean,
And
people
by
can.
the way, can I just, you're talking about dropping out of college. I've known you now, for several years, and like, dude, you're a highly intelligent guy, and I've said this before. It's there are a lot of intelligent people that go to university and graduate university degrees, but going to university or getting a degree does not make you intelligent. It just happens to be that some of those intelligent people end up going there, but because
But
listen, I've met some of the dumbest people I've ever known. So some of them have like higher degrees too, like not even just bachelor's, like I'm talking like master's, PhD. Like, so,
but it's like,
but to be fair, some of them were incredibly intelligent. So
I don't
I'm
know,
just
but
saying
like,
that.
you cannot compare. Dude, if you drop me into university and you make me do any course that doesn't interest me, I'm gonna be the dumbest guy in the room. Like, if I don't care about it, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna put effort into it. I mean,
yeah,
obviously some things you have to do in life, and I will put effort, but like, put me into an engineer room, and man, I'm gonna be the dumbest guy in that whole room because
Yeah.
well, obviously I don't care about it. But I think like, and
Well,
this
okay.
goes
So you're working as a teacher on the side right now, right, to support
right,
your career and
teacher,
stuff.
personal training,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so
But
I mean, how does that affect you as a teacher? Like, because you probably really like empathize with some of the students, or just kind of like, I don't really know if I want to be here. How do you approach
well,
teaching them?
well, the company I work for two companies, freelance, and so the companies they they prioritize playful teaching style, and that
Okay.
is my teaching style. So I can. This is the issue that I had for a long, long time. Is that like I can teach, but I want to teach my style. Like obviously, the goal for the students is to learn,
Yeah.
but it also has to be fun because they're kids. So you have to
Yeah.
find the perfect balance between the two.
Yeah.
And so like the majority of schools here, they didn't like it.
Uh-huh.
They were like, you have to be more serious. And I'm like, yeah, but they're kids. They're even I've been teaching adults. Even when the difference
Yeah.
between me teaching kindergarten and me teaching adults is not that big. Obviously,
Okay.
you change your jokes. Obviously, because they're like older, and obviously the material you teach is a lot more difficult. But like style wise, it's similar, and
Okay.
that's why it sticks.
No, that's
Because
great. Yeah.
like dude, especially when they're adults, if they have to come to like a course, they're like, oh fuck this. I know. No, I know what it feels like. I
Yeah.
know what it feels like. And so that's always what I aim for. I want to make it like as fun as possible. I think part of it is basically, I mean, the last 9 years I had so many jobs. I just this is the advice that I would give to young guys. Forget about money in your early 20s. You know, it's important. Obviously, make sure that you never go like broke, which I have been a couple of times. But make sure that you gain as much life experience as possible, because then if you figure everything out in your 20s, your 30s are going to be easier. Because like if I look back on it, I have life experience. Obviously I need more, but I have quite a lot of life experience. My 20s were amazing. I have no regrets whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah.
Plus I got married before I was 30. Like
Yeah.
I've been married for 2 years now.
Yeah.
So like everything besides my financial aspect was set. So now
Yeah,
I
that's
can,
awesome. No, no,
yeah.
listen, I'm getting up there in age. I'm getting close to turning 40. Actually, this month I'm turning 40. You know, and I'm feeling like a little bit behind the curve right now. I'm like, I want to get married and stuff. And anyway, my point was, I think it's great that you got married early. And to be quite honest, I think there should like not enough people get married early these days. And I don't know, it's just my 2 cents. Obviously, you have to find the right person. You have to, you don't want to get married to the wrong person, so don't rush it, don't force it. But um, I just think it's a lot healthier if you can find a person that you can like build the life together, kind of like grow
Exactly.
together. Yeah.
I think just the majority, and this goes for men and women, they're like very confused because both of them never have the life experience, especially like in the West. Like a lot of women, they just like it's both genders, and they're both very confused. And the majority of them, they just go into relationships based on like there is no norms and values. There's not really a base for
Yeah.
relationship. It's basically, oh, this chick is hot, I'll take her. And it's
Yeah.
like, do you think she's gonna be a good mom? Oh, I don't know. It's like, dude, but
Yeah.
why do you? It's like if you are 19, I can 100% understand. If you're 19, you don't know any better. I mean,
Yeah.
there will be guys that are 19 and they will like be ahead of the curve. Like the majority of guys that are 19 are like, oh, this one is hot, I want this one. And
Yeah.
okay,
Well,
she's fun to be around with. You don't think about the future. But like when I met my wife when I was 27,
okay.
27, 28ish. Yeah, I mean, I thought about it. Like, you start to like look more for qualities, and I think like the majority they don't think about it. And
No,
then,
no. Yeah, I think that's the number one question I always ask when I'm dating girls. I'm like, yeah, do I see this person being the future mother of my children? Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So if she has like an OnlyFans, the answer is obviously no, and guys
Yeah.
will still end up hooking up with her. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what? So, may I ask, like, being married, how has that changed you? That, like, has it calmed you down? Like, how's it affected your life positively?
I was always like pretty calm. But I think the biggest aspect that changed was because I'm living in a country that is not my own. I kind of it helped me focus on the future a lot faster.
Uh-huh.
Because before, when I was single, I was like, if I'm training and fighting here, and like my blog doesn't work out, I can always go back home and work. But once I met my wife, like obviously in the beginning, like you start to figure things out and you see where it goes. But like once it got really really serious, which was quite fast because we have a good connection, it was like okay, well, things have to change now because now I cannot be like okay, money is not good. I just go home. Now I have to focus on like developing other skills and like fighting, and while riding too. But like the issue that for me that I always had was like because I had obviously my fighting career comes first because I have a limited window in that. And so my blog sometimes I kind of like took a break
By the
off.
way, I'm just gonna jump in for everyone watching. One day Alex is gonna open up his own gym in Chiang Rai, and
Exactly. That's the
I
one.
look forward to training there. So just go ahead.
So basically like after I mean I had some bad experiences like being with people in the industry like kind of got ripped off by a coach. I was like so sick of this whole online industry because the majority of them are just grifters. And so in 2020, I took a huge break of like blogging in general to focus on training only. And then I kept my blog. It's zerotoalpha.com, by the way. I have a Substack too where I post on everything. But so basically, I took a huge, huge
That's
break.
all gonna be. I'm gonna link all that down in the information. So
Oh, okay,
if
perfect. Thank you.
everyone, whoever wants to check it out, they can check it out.
Yeah. So basically, I took a huge break from that, and that kind of like killed my blog completely. And now I'm rebuilding it. Like now I'm like, okay, I know which direction I want to go with this. But like it's hard to like try to juggle a lot of things, you know. Obviously, I have a marriage.
Yeah.
That's also there. So like it's like now fighting remains number one, marriage two, and then blog number three. But I find a good balance now between the three. So that helps. But it took me years.
Okay.
It took me like years.
Well, how does she feel about the fighting? Does she like it? Does she worry about you? Is it a little bit of both?
I mean, I've been knocked down only in one fight ever. So, and that was the second fight she came. I made like a technical mistake and I got knocked
Okay.
down 3 times. I lost the fight in the first round. After that, she watched me on television, and then the prison fight, I said, no, you're not coming. She stayed home. And then the Roger Domnarn fight, she came. So, I mean, when I fight, she's obviously going to watch. I don't think she loves it that much, but she obviously supports it. She's like, this is what you want to do. So obviously I'm going to come and she helps me a lot during my weight cuts. She loves it when I cut weight. She loves it because like my wife is an amazing cook. No, but like it's just the style of cooking that you have to do. I'm not a big weight cutter. Like I only cut 3 kilos, but like the style of cooking that you have to do, you eat light, you know. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. It's just so when you're cutting for a fight, I mean, you're probably weighing in like an hour before the fight, something like that.
Nah, like it's Thailand, so it's like 12 hours before. So we in like early morning.
Really? Okay. Okay, I know when I did my fightings, like I waited an hour before, right? Like, and so okay, so I mean, how much of that is water weight in that you're cutting?
All of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But like you do it slowly, you know. I don't cut 3 kilos at once. This is like I manipulate my carbs, so I drop like 1.5 kilos already during the week, and then the last 1.5 kilos I just sweat out in a sauna suit.
Okay.
Yeah, but I regain all of it.
Nice. No, yeah, I did just so yeah, about 3 kilos is just optimal for you, I guess. Just yeah, the most I've done like 10 pounds in 24 hours, and
Fuck that.
Yeah, but I mean that wasn't for that was like for wrestling and jiu-jitsu, you know. But yeah, that was like I don't know, man. I think there's just something spiritual about fasting. I like to do the 3-day food fast a couple times a year.
Right.
You know, and for me it's just I started doing it because I heard that there's physical benefits, all right, like health benefits. But I honestly think the number one reason I do it is just it gets my head right. Like it's a spiritual thing where you get to the end of those 3 days and no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how bad it is, you're just like, man, I'm glad to be alive. You know, just like you're not being able
Glad
to
to see
eat
food.
food. Yeah, yeah. I remember, especially that the very first time I did it. I remember it was like I knew I was going to make it to the end of the fast. I had maybe like 2 3 hours left, and I remember getting like almost teary eyed, just because I was just like, man, like yeah, I was just like glad to be alive. You know, like really that's like what came through my head. Like okay, you know, like just um, just not being able to eat. You know, just like the basic joys in life. Like for me, I love to eat. That's like one of my biggest joys in life. You know, just eating food, anything, all the time. Like, yeah. And I'm lucky enough. I have a metabolism I can do it. Most people I know are just like, oh, get fat, you know. But like, so, uh, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that just I get it. My grandfather was the same way. I inherited a lot of his genetics, and he was like 70 years old, still like thin as a pencil, you know. So
Mm.
like, and
But it's funny because
yeah,
if you talk about metabolism and eating, like if you look at the majority of people that are fat, they don't eat that much.
that's interesting you mentioned that because one of my good childhood friends, I saw him recently, and he's gotten like quite large, and like he's skipping meals, and I'm just like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, how did you get this big? Like, like I
Yeah.
look in this refrigerator, right? And I'm like, how does someone this big have this little in their refrigerator? Like,
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
looking for something to eat. Like,
yeah. It's like if you have a healthy metabolism, then you need quite a lot of food. And I do. And if you exercise, dude, I need a lot of food when I'm in training camp. Like I eat,
yeah,
dude. People are like surprised that I don't gain weight. It's like, first off, I'm in training camp. Second off, my metabolism healthy. Like I fixed it years ago, so I can eat
yeah.
a lot. And I don't discriminate food. Like my pre-workout is like a glass bottle of Coca-Cola, which is like almost 400 milliliters of Coca-Cola. I eat
Dude,
ice
that's
cream.
so bad for you.
Ah, that's dude. That is fuel, man. It's just sugar, dude.
But I can't complain. This is my
Ah,
guilty
there we
pleasure.
go.
That
No, but
becoming.
but this is inspired by Ray Peat. So basically, Ray Peat said carbohydrates are the main fuel source for the body because,
Right.
well, your
Yeah.
body needs it. Obviously, they lower stress, and he's like a big proponent of like Mexican Coke. And so that's why I started incorporating Mexican Coke is basically the glass bottle Coke in Thailand. But so
Okay.
basically, if you look at Coca-Cola, it's basically water and sugar.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just fast
Or,
sugar.
or or this is the United States is water and corn syrup. But like,
Well, yeah, I would never drink the corn syrup version, but like I drink the sugary version. And so if you look at it,
yeah.
like obviously, they're like, oh, but it doesn't have like any neutral value. No, it doesn't have minerals and vitamins, but I don't care about that. I'm about to train. If you really think that one Coke before training is gonna make me fat, you're delusional, man. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
this is a funny story. This happened before the prison fight, by the way. So I do my own nutrition because I educated myself because I don't want to cut like the Thais because the Thais they basically kill themselves making weight. It's horrible the way they do it. So the day we went to the prison to the hotel, that was the day before weigh-ins. We were there 3 days, and so I checked weight in the gym, and so in the gym I was like 69 and a half. And I knew because I only ate breakfast, I didn't have lunch, and we were gonna go there, and they promised us lunch, which we never got. We only got dinner. So I knew I was very low on calories and carbs. So in the bus, I only ate like a bun. That was it. And so I
Okay.
arrived there and I was like really thirsty and I was like quite hungry. And so what I did is like I went and bought Coca-Cola and I drank that Coke in front of all of the fighters. And they went
What they
crazy.
do? What they do?
Oh, they went crazy. They went like ballistic, man. They were like, what the fuck
Like,
is
oh
wrong
my
with this
god!
guy?
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
And they were like staring at water like it was like, oh, they were like craving water, They were like depleting
Yeah.
themselves. And I drank that Coke. I finished completely. I stepped on the scale and I was 69 kilos. I lost half a kilos and they just lost their minds. I was like, what the fuck?
You dangle the bottle from them like jealous, jealous. Oh, man.
No, but so I have
Uh,
I'm working with some guys now that are like fighters and I teach them nutrition. So I coach them for it. And so basically, like whether you like this or not, if you're an athlete, you need sugar, and you don't have to drink
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. You don't have to, like, I like the Coca-Cola gummies as well, like the Haribo, because they have like beef
Okay.
gelatin in it, like fast energy as well. You can eat fruit before a workout, fruit and some salt on it if you want. It doesn't have to be that. I just enjoy the taste of it, and I know it's not gonna kill me because I'm just that physically active. I burn it off anyways.
Okay.
Ah,
Training in Thailand. Have you had the opportunity to train at different gyms, or have you stuck with mainly one gym?
no, I mean, mostly I stay at the gym for quite a while before I move on,
Okay.
but I've had like, hold on, Diamond Muay Thai. I was in Phuket, but that was only 4 days, so it doesn't really count. Chiang Mai one, Bangkok one. Yeah, I mostly check out. No, Bangkok too. Yeah, I stay quite some time at gyms.
Okay. No, no, no. The reason I'm asking is I just want to know, in your experience, are they all doing something pretty similar in the way they train, or is there a lot of variation? And if there is, what do you prefer? Like what training type of, I guess, workout routine or workout structure?
I mean, there's some significant difference. Like some gyms have more like a class style, if you like to say it like that.
Mhm.
But they tell you what to do. You warm up, you run, you jump rope, what's that? Shadow boxing, pad work, bag work, clinching,
Mhm.
sparring. Like there's a structure to the class. Other
Right.
other gyms, they basically you come in, you run, you do pad work, and after that you're kind of free to do what you want. You can spar, you can clinch. So
Okay.
those are a big difference. I think the main difference is that it's very, very hard in Thailand to have a teacher,
Yeah.
like somebody that teaches you the Muay Thai style, because a lot of people don't know that in Muay Thai there are different styles. That like the heavy-handed one with the low kicks. You have like the heavy kicker. You have like the elbow fighter, the clincher, the technical fighter.
So what's the deal with elbows? Because I feel like elbows is something that's allowed, but like there's kind of like an unwritten rule that like if you throw an elbow, then like some people get really upset, like you're being a bad sport or something.
Oh no, I
Like,
don't think I elbowed the last guy I fought.
well, that's
I,
why I brought it up. Yeah, yeah, like because you're saying the prison fight you elbowed him, he got a little bit hot headed, like it's.
oh no, that was
I
just
mean,
a stand.
understandable. If you get elbowed in the face, you're gonna have a reaction. But
Right. I mean, elbows is the hardest point of the body, so obviously they're not nice. But no, there is no unwritten rule. I just think people don't trade them efficiently anymore. Like
well, I'm sorry to interrupt. No, because that was my big thing is like my first combat sport was boxing, so I feel very comfortable with my hands, and I feel okay with like any type of low kick, and so um like elbows, I just have just being honest, I have no idea of the range for them. I
well
have
that
no idea how to set them up. Huh?
well that's kind of like the issue that a lot of people have because they are lacking teachers. They have like padmen that don't teach them elbows. They basically make them throw elbows.
Yeah.
So like my last fight was the first fight where I set up like all my elbows, like spinning
Mhm.
elbows, up elbows. Like I used all my elbows, but that was basically because I went to train with somebody that actually he just looked at my style and was like, okay, you're a femur fighter, which is also what he was teaching. And then he just identified quickly that elbows were what I was lacking. So we worked on that. So in my
Mhm.
last fight, everything came out. But like setting up
Awesome.
elbows is it's close range, man. So you have to be really, really good at like setting that up because it's a dangerous range to be in.
Yeah.
Because if you can touch him with an elbow, he can touch you back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think just like the sport has watered down quite a lot if you compare it to like the 90s. Like the 90s, early 2000s was like the golden age.
Well, why is that? Are the gloves bigger? What led to it?
I think like the scoring kind of changed. Like obviously there's a foreign influence because like in the beginning when foreigners came here, well, first off, they didn't have the training structure that the Thais have. We still don't. Like if you train in the West, like nobody's training twice. I mean, if you want to train twice a day, you're gonna train once by yourself.
Okay.
And in Thailand, from a young age, they live at the gym.
Yeah.
So all they do is train and eat. Like the majority of Westerners don't have that luxury. So when
Yeah.
they came in the golden age, like everybody got beat. I mean, some people got
Yeah.
wins, but
Do you
yeah.
think Thailand has the best kickboxers in the world, or do you think that the Dutch can give them a run for their money, just in terms of technique? Because obviously Dutch are going to be bigger, right? But like, do you
Yeah,
feel like Dutch have better hands? Because I always felt like just hands down, Thailand had the best pound for pound kickboxers. But now I'm starting to reevaluate that because as you get like a lot of Thai fighters going over to one championship in Singapore, they seem to be like there's this hole in their game where when you get smaller gloves,
But that's the Muay Thai, yeah.
yeah, but they're like not able to when they get pressured that they don't have the reflexes to kind of like tuck their chin and kind of survive. Like they don't have that boxing reflex, I guess you'd say. Like the hands are a little bit behind the rest of them, right? Like,
I mean, before, like I said, like in the golden age, they had like amazing hands. I just watered.
okay.
Yeah, like if you look at them, some of them went over to like professional boxing and were like world champions over there. Like Samad, Virapol, Samson, Isan, all of them had like amazing boxing careers. Like they had amazing boxing back then. But it just
who was the guy who won the first gold medal? The Thai guy who won the boxing gold medal.
I think that was Samrak.
Okay.
I think that was him. I know he had a gold medal, but I don't know if it was
it
him.
must be him then. Yeah. So, I just
my teacher, the guy that I'm training with right now was his teacher, by the way.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit, man. That's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Really.
He's the one.
You're in good hands. Yeah.
He's the one that has elbows. Yeah. But so now, I mean, first off, like people don't understand this, but like punches, they don't score in Muay Thai unless they do damage.
Okay.
It's not like kickboxing where volume scores. Like if you touch somebody like 5,000 times, you score. In Muay Thai, if you don't do damage, it's not a score. So I think probably that's why it kind of watered down and like the scoring system kind of changed over the years. Like it has changed quite a lot. So once they go to one championship, I mean, the rule set is kind of like straightforward, right? You cannot take a step back. You have to clash all the time. You cannot clinch. So first off, it's not real Muay Thai, which a lot of people don't seem to understand. Second of all,
I didn't realize that they couldn't clinch. I didn't know that. So
I mean,
yeah, that changes a lot.
It depends on who's fighting, but mostly they break the clinch. They basically want clashes all the time.
Okay.
If you look at it, it's quite obvious to see, but you have to realize that if you fight with small gloves and you force people to clash all the time, it becomes a 50-50 game.
Right. No, for sure.
If you get touched by a small glove, it doesn't take a lot.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. I mean, I think of like in MMA, like UFC and stuff, heavyweight division. I think the longest reigning active heavyweight champion held the belt for like 2 or 3 fights. Like that, the average like tenure of a heavyweight champion is like they win the belt, they hold it for maybe 1 fight, then they lose it. And it's like why? Because they're so heavy and they have the small gloves. It's like literally you're playing Russian roulette. Just whoever lands that first big shot first. Yeah.
I mean,
dude, do you know the? Oh, go ahead.
Dude, a guy over 100 kilos with small gloves. Imagine how much power is behind that.
Yeah. No, and that's why I think you have to have someone like Israel Adesanya who's just like real good at like just his defensive style is just not to be there, just like out of range, right? Like,
exactly. But like then if you come, I mean Adesanya is an amazing striker, but that's the issue that one championship have. You cannot fight in a style like Adesanya. You cannot go on the back foot.
So like, why is that? I mean, how do they enforce that?
They give you warning, and if you don't fight the way they want, they don't contact you back. That's basically it.
Okay.
I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you know the fighter Lord Silla?
Of course, I know him. Yeah, his teacher is my teacher now.
What?
Yeah.
Dude. Okay. For your who's your teacher, and like, do you have to? You probably have to get like a special invite or something to train with him, right? Like.
No, so this is the funny thing. His name is Arjan Pipa. He trained Sanchai, Lurdzilla, Samrak, Silapatai, if you know him. He's like the older generation. Basically, we live in the age of the internet. So like people that are famous on the internet are not necessarily the best trainers. And I'm not gonna name names because that might get me into trouble.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of
Sure.
There are a couple of trainers that are like really, really famous on Thailand from Thailand. That are like, you cannot even call them trainers. They're just they're mediocre pad holders at best, but
Ah,
People see them on the internet and have like a lot of followers, so people think they're legit. And then you look at like a guy like Arjan Pipa, and you look how many world champions that guy created. Like, think about this: every gym he's been at, he has created world champions. Every gym.
yeah,
But if you
that's
but
amazing.
if you mention him in the West, nobody knows who he is because he's not famous on the
Yeah,
internet. So like working
yeah,
with him, he was easily accessible. Like if he likes you,
yeah.
he's gonna teach you.
Wow. Dude, that's so cool, man. That that's that's just really badass. Like
He was
it's
hard to
like
track down. He was really
yeah.
hard to find. Yeah,
Hey,
because there's
wow,
no
wow.
social media.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's probably how he keeps just like yeah, it's like the gateway, right? Like the cost of entry. You actually have to like find him, right?
But it's like
Like,
people, and I've heard this a lot. It's like if you understand Muay Thai, you will go to him. If you understand the sport, you go to him.
yeah. Well,
It's
does
like,
he train people for like MMA and stuff too?
I mean, he prepares them. He has prepared people for kickboxing even. He understands
So
the sport.
yeah, I mean, how do you think training for Muay Thai, if you want to use it in like MMA, how does that train change it? Because um obviously like there's just a couple things, major adjustments you need to make, otherwise you're just gonna get taken down, kind of.
I mean, people make this argument, but I kind of disagree with that because if you look at a
Uh-huh.
guy like, if you look at a guy like, for example, Masvidal,
Uh-huh.
Masvidal has a Muay Thai stance. He's
Is it
standing.
really? Okay.
Yeah. Look at his fights. Like look at
Yeah.
Cerrone. His Cerrone fight was the first fight where I was like, hey, wait a minute, this guy stands like a Muay Thai fighter.
Okay.
But his takedown defense is just really good. He's hard to take down and he's hard to keep
Yeah.
on the ground. So like, if you're a Muay
Okay,
Thai
so,
fighter,
so I have to ask you about Masvidal, right? Like, because he's one of the guys I've been studying. I just find incredibly interesting. His tempo changing, right?
yeah,
We go like first round, this tempo, this tempo. He'd throw the feints to get you to react, right? Like he's
yeah.
almost like he's training the other person. Second, third round comes, and he's like half beat off, right? Like that's how he got some of those really great knockouts. And I think people caught on to the fact he's doing that because then like it seemed to stop working. Um, but yeah, like what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I studied Masvidal quite a lot. He's an amazing
Uh,
striker. I think at the end he kind of lost a step.
yeah,
His reaction timing was not there anymore, but maybe he
right.
didn't take it serious anymore. He kind of had like a couple of big paydays. But yeah,
Yeah.
amazing fighter. Like,
Well, he said it himself. That's why he's retiring. It's just like his reflexes went there. Yeah.
right.
And,
I mean, yeah, it was not his best fight, but like when he was like younger,
yeah.
woo it was good. Yeah, but a lot of thing. I mean, the only reason, and I'm not the only one who says this. The only reason why he was never a champion is because he liked to play around too much and he wasn't that active. Like if he could toy with guys, he would toy with them, but he forgot to score,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
that cost him some fights. You know, there were some close split decisions.
he's lost a lot of split decisions. And
Yeah,
well, I don't know if you know this story, but it's really interesting. He basically needed some money. That his manager found him this position on this reality show with other professional athletes. It was a Spanish TV show,
yeah.
and they were like basically competing in obstacle courses each week. But it's a little bit like Survivor. Like if they lose, they have to be in that house with no food and like and so basically, yeah, he said it was like this life-changing event because all he'd do is every day he'd go for like 3 hours hiking in the jungle or wherever, and just gave him time to think. He was away from his phone, away from other people, and then he basically came to the conclusion that he was fighting not to lose. He wasn't fighting to win. And then when he came back, that's when he won like 3 or 4 really big fights in a row. He had that, like just some crazy knockouts.
I mean, I think with him, his issue was always the same. He liked to play around too much, and
Yeah,
he got away with it too much, and so he kind of got into this habit. I think that never changed. And then when he started getting punished for him, he doesn't had. I mean, dude, hats off for him. He was an amazing striker, but
yeah.
yeah, that's basically what it is.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, that's what I think. That's obviously from an outsider's perspective, but if you look at like his what's the name of that documentary? Tales from the Grind. You can still find that on YouTube. That's like from his beginning of his career, and you see like all the time he like skips on training to play Call of Duty, doesn't take his stuff very serious. Yeah, like
uh, oh man, okay, I didn't know that. I don't know. It's weird because obviously that's not the way to become a champion, right? But at the same time, I think to be well, at least one way to be in a very effective fighter is you kind of have to just not give a shit. Like, oh, I might just get knocked out. This guy might just wreck me and embarrass me in front of all my friends. Yeah, whoever, fuck it, I don't care. You know, it's just like kind of hard to turn it on and turn it off, right?
Exactly.
Like I think that's like John Jones. He's just you know, he goes out, you know, world title fight. It's just like, ah, fuck it, I'm gonna throw a spinning back elbow, flying knee, whatever, just for no fucking reason. And then, you know, he gets, you know, in his personal life, he's like, you know, I just did cocaine and I've been drinking. I'm gonna go drive my sports car now. Why not? Fuck it. If I get caught, I get caught. Maybe I won't. You know, like,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I think that transfers over to like a lot of you know, high performance athletes. Like I think like if you're a baseball pitcher, you know, just like that stress, like you know, just you know, you know, so being I don't know. I guess is there a way to turn it on and off? That's the question.
Just
Because I
mental.
okay, what's that?
That's just mental.
Uh,
Yeah, that's all it is. Like you just have to see it as a sport, and you have to understand what the goal of the sport is. That's all it is.
to destroy
Yeah.
your opponent.
Well, not to destroy it. The goal is to win the fight. So like, I know
Yeah.
sometimes fighters are like, oh, you know, I'm like hurting people, and it's like, you could see it like that. But if you go into a fight with that idea, then well, you're probably not gonna win that fight. It's just a sport.
Yeah.
Like, don't put
Okay.
so much
I see what
thought
you're
into
saying.
it. It's just a
Yeah.
sport. After the
Yeah.
fight, you can go drink a beer or whatever you want to drink. Like, you don't have
Yeah.
to hate each other. It's like it's all bullshit. It's just a
Yeah.
sport. That's it.
Yeah, man. No, I love it. I love it. I mean, I think that it's a very healthy way to look at it, right? Like, and because at the end of the day, I mean, I've thought about this too. It's like comes down to a series of techniques, right? Like, and it's just how focused can you be when you get to the fight, right? Just you know,
Mm.
like I've had it happen before. I'm sure everyone has, where it's like you do a lot better in the gym than you do when you're competing, and
Mm.
then and then every once in a while the adrenaline actually just helps you and you do better than you've ever done in the gym. And I don't know. I've always wondered. I'm like, okay, like why am I able to turn the switch on sometimes, and other times I'm not. And then it was even weirder. Is usually the worse nerves I have, the more nervous I am before a competition, of like pretty much any type, you know, but just like you know, combat sports or whatever. Um, Usually the better I do,
Mm.
which is kind of annoying because I do not want to be nervous before. You know, I don't want those nerves, but it's like almost just it's just part of the process. You know, just
Mm. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna compete or anything worthwhile, you're gonna be nervous. Like, I'm nervous before fights too, but I don't let it affect me that much. I know it's gonna
yeah,
come.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's like every fight is like kind of the same. I'm just nervous, but I also
yeah,
know that I have the skills to like beat everyone in front of me.
yeah.
So that's where my confidence comes from. Like, I trained hard and I know what I'm capable of. And basically,
So, no, no,
then
go
I
ahead.
try to take away the the best weapons from my opponent, and then work from there.
Yeah, yeah,
Figure out what he wants
um,
and work from there.
yeah. Do you, outside of training in the Muay Thai gym, do you do any road work? Like, do you run? Do you do lifting weights? Like, do you do any cross training at all?
I mean, I have a whole strength conditioning program, so
Uh-huh.
I lift twice a week, and then I have, well, road work. Yeah, it's like, obviously it's not always the same. Only in like non-training camp, I'll just do regular running.
Okay.
Aside from that, it varies a lot, but like it's always like sprinting, threshold training, stuff
Mhm.
like that. Yeah, like sport specific.
No, I always like to ask. I'm curious because I know like for traditional Western boxing, it's just like one of those unwritten rules, like one of those known secrets where it's like if you want to fight, you have to spar, you have to run, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. I was just wondering if you know if it's the same in Muay Thai, but uh, and yeah. And then for your running, like generally, what distances are people training for running for the Muay Thai fights? Like you say, you do sprints, but
I mean, I run like 30, 40 minutes. Not that much.
uh, Okay.
Yeah.
So like a 5K, 5 kilometer or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I don't even calculate the distance. I just
Okay.
run.
Okay.
Yeah, I just put a timer on and I just run. That's off season, of course. But like a Thai is you run
Yeah.
10K in the morning.
Yeah. So it and you might not have an answer for this, but like of all your cross training, what did you find to be the most effective cross training for your Muay Thai? Like what
I mean,
supplement did the best?
a proper strength conditioning program where you lift weights. I did before I did like other I did body weight training, but I kind of got used to it. Like this training, this workouts became so easy that I figured that if I don't add weights, I'm gonna cut myself short.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
just
weight training was
yeah.
I think adding weights was the biggest change for me.
Okay, and what type of lifts are you doing? Are you doing like power lifts, like squat, deadlift,
It's like
bench, or are you?
it's basically like the big five geared towards Muay Thai, which is basically deadlifts, bench, squats, what's the other one? Pull-ups. I forgot the last. Presses, like shoulder presses. It's basically
What was
like
the second one?
bench, I think.
Okay, okay,
Deadlifts, bench, squats,
yeah.
and like variations of it.
So for that, like for instance, if you're doing bench, do you find it's a lot better to do like dumbbells, the individual dumbbells instead of
I
the
know
bar?
it depends on the program. I just follow the
Uh,
program. Yeah.
but who designs your program? Is that coming from your Muay Thai coach or?
No, this came from Don Heatrick. I got Don Heatrick stuff because I have a podcast with him actually. So
Okay.
yeah,
But
but I
who's this? Who's this?
Don Heatrick.
Okay. Okay.
I
Cool.
mean, I looked into it myself, but I was like at a period of time where I didn't have a lot of time, and I was like, I might as well just buy his stuff because I
No,
know
no,
it.
no, dude. I'm a big fan of training plans. I bought training plans for running, And you know
Right.
what it is for me? It's like I could easily plan my own training schedule for running. I have the knowledge now, but I'll pay the $15, whatever it is, just because it keeps me accountable, right?
Mm.
Like I look on there, I'm like, okay, the calendar, like I feel like shit, but no, I gotta go do this run tomorrow morning. You know, like it's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I have to cut you short, but I have to go teach later. So
No,
we
no,
can always
dude.
do
Okay.
we can always do a
No, no,
second
dude.
round like in the future or
No, 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 no. Okay, no, no. It's good, man. Alex, man, thanks so much. Dude,